to know, of course, we saw the structures, to know what sort of interventions not to do. That's another argument. Okay, because with psychotics, you don't say that. You don't touch upon the name of the Father. You don't touch. Actually, I did touch on the names of the Father. I did touch upon the object. You know what is happening? You understand that, okay, they don't like that. They get confused. Next time, I don't do it. Okay, they will teach you every single time how they allow you to have access to their psyche, to their body, to their discourse. Okay? Well, these three things I said are one actually. So sometimes you have to experiment. Of course, there is no violence there, but you see, okay, they are confused, so I'm not doing this next time. And then they will indicate you how they accept things, how they can connect with you. Okay? And these ways of, that you develop these ways of connecting with them there, they will start utilizing them in the I will not say the real world, this is the real world also, but in the social bond. There is also another argument that why we need the structures. It's to construct the case at the end, for the construction of the case. That I couldn't understand it. Why do we need that I heard Francine speaking about her case. I heard Penny. I heard Richard. I heard Angelos. I liked it because you are using your own language plus what was said there to give an experience of what you experience as an analyst. That was a perfect construction. I mean, it didn't mind if you said it was hysteric or not. It was a process of from suffering to being able to live. Okay? And if we start doing these things, then we will break this myth that I heard from many others saying the theory of psychoanalysis has nothing to do with practice. I disagree. Yes, the theory, the practice should not verify the theory, but with the practice, we can intervene on the theory. It's with practice that we have to speak. So I disagree with that they are two different. They are not. I mean, it's through our own experience, we can say, well, I disagree a bit with Lacan here. I mean, I'm not attacking him, but my practice shows this thing. It seems to function. That's okay, but we are adding. So it's through practice that we approach the theory. Okay, not the other way around. Because I went to a couple of seminars and there are questions about theory and practice, and the analyst says it's different. It's one of these things that the theory is total. And why are we teaching about? Why are we getting into this? Of course, it's for our own decomposition and all this stuff, but it's from the practice. Lacan was from his own practice that he managed to read Freud and elaborate or add a few things to him. If we use the topology and not the structures, then you've got the foreclosure of the psychoanalyst, and then we go to what was said yesterday by Angelos, that the psychoanalyst does not exist. The psychoanalyst does not exist, it is created. This process is the creation of the psychoanalyst as long as it is the creation of the solution of the analyzer. Because we have this plasticity and we have to adapt our practice, everything in the sessions, according to this specific context. So what we create at the end of the day, besides a new metaphor for psychoanalysis, we have to be constructed within that metaphor. Okay? So the psychoanalysis and the psychoanalysis are constructions. They are not signifiers. And this also goes to, I will use another word, that the mystery. The sessions have become a mystery with that. They become a mystery for how you will maneuver, how you will situate yourself. They have to be a mystery. If you know from beforehand where you will lead the analysis, it's not psychoanalysis. Okay? You know how to create this metaphor because of this encounter in the first sessions, whatever, but here it's, you shouldn't know. You shouldn't know. If you know, it's not psychoanalysis, it's something else. Okay? So I use the word mystery, that the session have to be a mystery for the psychoanalyst, and we should be able to accept the element of surprise. Let's say we're shocked sometimes, you feel the body of the analysis be taken over by an interpretation or a touch upon the signifier. We should be able to experience that because of the changes of what they bring in the sessions. That's beautiful if you experience that. Okay. Step 2. Orient the exchange away from any discourse that places responsibility on the other. For example, I will use practical examples. I go to Francine and I start talking. I'm sure you have, all of us have this analysis. Maybe we went through this phase also. I've got depression. Can you help me with depression? So, if I insist on being part of that discourse, the only place that Francine, the psychoanalyst, can have, if she accepts that position and she doesn't intervene, then it would be that of the specialist that will help with depression. If she touches upon signifiers, this is happening in the first sessions, and I clicked, and then even though I go and speak about my depression in the second session, and after 3 minutes I free associate, it's because that intervention immediately opened up a space, a topology. If during the first sessions I insist, and I you feel this plasticity of the analysis of pushing away these things, then the only position you can have with them is to take that position of the specialist that will enter that discourse of depression and try to cure them, to promise a cure. You will function as a religion, a person who represents religion, because you will identify with a promise. So for me, when they come in, I test a lot from the first sessions. This is the aggressivity that Lacan spoke in his writings. It doesn't mean to be aggressive, but you have to test desire very early. How do you test desire? By touching upon the signifier from the very first meeting. Okay? Sometimes you have to do a few things to say, but if you get a chance, touch upon some things, and you will see how they receive those, how they think, how they react. Okay? After a few sessions, if there is still this persistence on the persistence, I mean, to go back to the same thing all the time, not just first sessions and then they first 5 minutes and then they continue. So you have to think how I will situate myself against this discourse, or if I'm going to dismiss the analysis. I dismiss a lot of analysis after 3 sessions because they're not willing to work. They take it back to that discourse and they ask me, how can you help me? I make my interventions, but they return to that. I'm not the appropriate person. Maybe a psychologist or somebody else can assist them. But I cannot take that position. Why? Not because I'm not trained, which I'm not in these terms, but if I do so, what I will do is I will be a divided subject, but from what? From my act, from my own desire. I have to give away to my own desire to go to that. Okay? And this will have tremendous consequences on the body of the psychoanalyst also. We have to be very precise, especially at the beginning of the session, who is willing to work or not. And you will understand it because, of course, you have complained and people are suffering. But you understand who is willing to work. They come on time. The questions are less. They don't try to get you all the time, even though you can say a few things, let's say, to schizophrenic subjects, but they are not asking you constantly for that. If they are working and in the process of the session, they go back to ask you, what is your opinion? It's because the gap appears and you need to change the way you intervene. One of the ways that in psychosis, while you have the session and they ask you, what do you think? And because the discourse goes in linearity and then the whole appears. Okay? And then they don't know how to go to here, and then they go from the imaginary and they ask you, what do you think? They want the voice of somebody to fill out that gap. Okay? So these are indications how to change, how to maneuver in the sessions. So basically the step 2 was to orient away the exchange away from any discourse that places the responsibility on the other. Let's say I will expect from Francine to give me knowledge or to do something about my depression. Her interventions have to exactly take the responsibility on me. If I click, then immediately, unconsciously, I assume that role of working. I don't ask her about my depression, what to do. Okay? The response of the subject in your interpretations in the early sessions will reveal much about their desire to work. I've got a note here. What is the difference between analysis and psychotherapy? I said it in almost every seminar, but I will just make a very small note there. When there is a manual, doesn't any sort of manual, the structures, the Quran, the Bible, the DSM, someone that you will refer to understand the analysis done, then psychotherapy. If you go to what Lacan did with that analysis, the foreshadowing, the topology, what we are teaching in the School of the Freudian Letter, then is psychoanalysis. If you have reference to any manual, because the manual will tell you how to situate yourself. Of course, the structure, clinical structures by Freud and Lacan are the best case scenario, but still there is a reference to something because they are used many times to say to the analyst how to intervene, how not to intervene, and what position to take against this subject. It's not bad, but there is this way also. Okay? Some people they have access to that, some people they have access to it. I'm not saying that we have to reduce that, use only that, but there is this way as well. I don't want to sound polemical because that's not my intention. Analysis is a direct experience, close to gnosis, if we are going to use these mystical words from the early first century, and therapy is a dogma. Okay. Desire is an orientation for life and not something we utilize in the sessions. I'm talking about the desire of the psychoanalyst. We commented about that yesterday. Okay? If, let's say, we discover our own desire, it becomes a way of life, a way of interpreting, a way of understanding our interpersonal relationships, our love relationships, the way we work. It's something that is constantly there. It becomes our body. We act according to that desire. So you don't have to do anything else in the sessions about the desire of the analyst. Just be faithful to your own desire. That's it. Because it cannot be copied. Behaviors can be copied, but your own desire cannot be copied. Even if you say it to the analyst, it cannot be copied. Okay? Again, from Heraclitus, he says, you cannot step in the same river twice. Even if you find the same spot, the water will not be the same. The way I explain desire is just another way to experience life. You can experience this through jouissance, through your own symptom, through the symptom, which I will say the difference between the act and the symptom later. But at the end of the day, people will choose in the process of their analysis or not how they want to experience life. It's very simple. Okay? We don't die. The orientation might be this, but they stop. It's okay for them. I like what Eric Laurent said. We stop psychoanalysis when psychoanalysis stops, when the subject is okay with their life. Simple as that. Maybe some people, they need to go to this, whatever, things, to the non-body, to the identifying with the act. Some people, they are okay with the symptomatizing some things, some by some logic, whatever. At the end of the day, it's about basic stuff in life, how to work, how to speak, how to deal, how to be able to stand in the bank without getting anxiety. It's very simple. Lacan was very simple. If you have in mind that you're speaking about life, this I got from Penny.